My name is Alara, and some nights I lie awake trying to pinpoint the exact moment my life began to rot from the inside out. Not the night I cheated. Not the moment the truth came out. No, it started long before that, when I first convinced myself I had made the smart choice instead of the brave one. I was 17 when I met Marcus. He had just transferred to our school. Quiet, awkward, keeping his head down. While the other girls whispered about him being strange, I was the one who sat next to him in photography club and offered to share my equipment. I showed him how to develop film in the darkroom, how to focus the lens just right, how to bring color out of something that looked dull to everyone else. Looking back, I think that's what I liked most about him. He made me feel powerful. I was the confident one, the pretty one, the girl who could have had anyone. Teachers loved me. Boys chased me. Girls envied me. Marcus just watched me. Quietly, like I was something rare. And I liked that even more. We stayed together through college. Different universities, same promises. Endless phone calls. Late-night video chats. Long emails talking about our future and how we'd build something real together. My friends used to laugh and call me the loyal one. I was proud of that. I wore my commitment like a crown. 10 years ago, we got married. A beautiful ceremony. Elegant music. Everyone saying how lucky I was to find such a devoted man. Marcus had a good job. Stability. Safety. He adored me. Too much, maybe. Because somewhere between shared bills, predictable weekends, and quiet dinners, I started to feel invisible. Not to strangers, no, they still saw me. They still stared. They still admired. But Marcus? He looked at me the way people look at a painting they've walked past for years. Familiar. Unnoticed. And then came the thoughts. Dangerous ones. Late-night whispers in my mind. Is this it? Is this all I get? Were these really my best years? I was 38. Successful in my career. Independent. Still beautiful. Painfully, obviously beautiful. Yet something inside me kept screaming that I had been buried alive inside a life that looked perfect from the outside. One evening I mentioned freezing my eggs, just to keep my options open. Marcus surprised me by supporting the idea. He even encouraged me to join an exclusive gym downtown, said it was time I focused on myself more. He had no idea what door he had just unlocked. That's where I met Sienna, Blair, and Nova. Sienna was married, glamorous, always smiling like she had secrets. Blair and Nova were in their early 20s. Wild, fearless, addicted to attention. Being around them felt like stepping backwards in time, or maybe reclaiming time I never got to fully live. After class one night, they invited me for drinks. I almost said no. Almost. The first night was harmless. A couple cocktails. Loud music in the background. Laughter. Compliments. Men glancing over. And for the first time in years, I felt seen. Not as a wife. Not as a responsible adult. Just as a woman. They called me dangerous in the best way. Said I could pass for 28. Claimed I was the most striking of them all. Those words went straight to the cracked part of me that Marcus had stopped filling long ago. Soon, dinner turned into nightlife. Music, dancing, strangers offering drinks. Men leaning in close to hear me over the beat. Eyes trailing over my body with hunger instead of familiarity. At home, Marcus started to ask questions. Why are you going out so much lately? You came home late again. You don't even text me anymore. He didn't ask like a lover. He asked like a worried parent. And it made my skin crawl. One night in the kitchen, he finally dared to say it out loud. You're changing, Alara. This isn't normal for someone who's married. Normal? That word hit me like an insult. You don't get to decide what normal looks like for me, I snapped. I'm having fun. I'm living. I didn't realize I needed your permission to feel alive again. His face hardened. It's not about permission. It's about respect. Respect. The word meant nothing to me anymore. I told him I would stay home that night. That I understood. That I would cancel with the girls. He believed me. But as I stared at my reflection in the mirror later, I saw a woman who had been caged for too long. I put on my tight black dress. The one Marcus always said was too much. I sprayed perfume on my pulse points, and I ordered an Uber. Sienna's text popped up immediately. We're at the Vale, and you need to get here. Trust me. The club was packed, pulsing with energy, the air thick with music and desire. I walked in and felt heads turning. Blair and Nova squealed when they saw me. Then I saw him. Adrian. 6 foot something. Sharp jaw. Confident eyes. The kind of man who didn't ask for permission. He took attention by force of presence alone. He didn't even flirt. He simply looked at me and said, "You don't belong to the background." And just like that, I felt dangerous again. We spoke for over an hour. Then 2. Then he leaned in close and asked if I wanted to go somewhere quieter. I didn't text Marcus. I didn't hesitate. I didn't even breathe properly. I only thought one thing. This is who I was supposed to be. That was the last clear thought I had before I stepped into Adrian's car. The city lights blurred past the window like a dream I'd waited too long to live. The music was low, smooth, nothing like the deafening noise of the club. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. It was from anticipation. From the feeling of stepping over a line I had stared at for years. His apartment wasn't far. Tall building. Expensive.
Clean. Cold in a way that felt designed.
Nothing like the warm, ordinary home I shared with Marcus. This place felt like a different world entirely. "Drink?" he asked, already moving toward a sleek bar in the corner. "Surprise me?" I replied, my voice lighter than it should have been. He laughed softly. "I like you already." We stood closer than strangers should. The tension in the air was thick, humming. He handed me a glass, our fingers brushing for half a second longer than necessary. "So," he said, studying me, "what's a woman like you doing married?" I almost laughed. "I'm not here as a wife," I said quietly. "Tonight, I'm just me." That answer seemed to please him. When he kissed me, there was no hesitation on either side. No guilt crashing over me. No memory of a wedding, a home, a life. Only heat. Only the sudden certainty that I had been starving for years and was finally being fed. I left before sunrise. Slipped back into my own world before reality could catch up. When I walked through the front door of my house, everything looked the same. Furniture in the same place. The faint scent of Marcus's soap still floating in the hallway. The quiet ticking of the clock. But I wasn't the same person who had walked out the night before. I showered longer than usual. Scrubbed my skin. Washed my hair twice. Not because I felt dirty, but because I felt reborn. Later that morning, my phone vibrated constantly. The girls. Sienna. Tell us everything. Blair. Did you do it? Nova. Details.
Now.
I lay on my bed and typed back, smiling to myself. I don't even remember his last name. That should probably concern me, but it doesn't. 3 bubbles appeared instantly. Sienna. As long as he was hot, who cares? Blair. You needed this forever. Nova. I swear you're living the life I want at 40.
40.
The number didn't scare me anymore. If anything, it felt like power now. Proof that I still had something they envied. I sent another message without thinking. I think I've been wasting my beauty on loyalty. Looking back, that sentence was the beginning of the end. Marcus was quiet that entire day. Too quiet. No questions. No sarcastic remarks. No disappointed glances. Just silence. At the time, I thought he was sulking. I had no idea he was watching. That night, I went out again. This time, with no hesitation. No lies. I dressed more boldly. Dark lipstick. Shorter dress. He stood in the doorway of the bedroom as I fastened my heels, eyes full of something unfamiliar. "Where are you going?" he finally asked. "Out," I replied, not even turning around. Try not to stay up worrying. For a moment, I thought he might shout. Break something.
Beg.
Instead, he simply nodded once. "Have fun, Alara." Something about the way he said my name sent a strange chill down my spine. The bar was brighter than the night before. Louder. More intoxicating. Every glance fed my ego. Every compliment a drug. I danced, laughed, let hands rest at my waist, my hips, my back. For a few hours, I wasn't a wife. I was a fantasy. When I finally came home, it was nearly 2 a.m. The house was completely dark except one light, the living room lamp. Marcus was sitting on the couch. Not angry, not crying, just waiting. In his hand was my phone. My smile disappeared. He slowly looked up at me. His face was pale, unreadable, quiet in a way that was almost terrifying. "Tell me something, Alara," he said calmly. "Do you really think you're too beautiful to be faithful?" My stomach twisted. "I don't know what you're talking about," I tried to say, but the strength was gone from my voice. He tapped the screen. "Do you remember writing this? Or this? Or this one about how you needed a whole phase you never got?" Each word hit harder than the last. "You didn't just cheat," he whispered. "You celebrated it." The room felt like it was closing in around me. "Marcus, I was just talking." It didn't mean. Who was he? His tone sharpened like a blade. "2 nights ago." "Who did you go home with?" "I didn't." I started, but even I didn't believe that lie. Silence filled the space between us. And then his voice came again, colder than I'd ever heard it. "You're leaving tonight." I stared at him, almost laughed. "You're not serious." "I've never been more serious in my life." He stood up, walked past me, went to the bedroom, and started pulling out my suitcases. At first, I genuinely believed he was bluffing. People threaten things in moments of anger all the time. They cool down. They talk. They forgive. That's what married couples do, right? But Marcus didn't hesitate. He dragged the first suitcase onto the bed and opened it with a violent snap of the zipper. Clothes I had carefully folded days before were now being fed into it carelessly, like trash being cleared out of a room. "Marcus, stop. This is insane," I said, finally moving. "You can't just kick me out in the middle of the night. This is my house, too." He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. Shirt, dress, jeans, thrown in. "Look at me," I shouted. "This is not how adults handle problems. We talk about things. We go to counseling if we have to." Still nothing. Just the sound of fabric hitting fabric. A quiet, precise kind of anger filled the room. The scariest kind. The kind that had already made its decision. "You're seriously going to throw away 20 years? I pressed, my voice starting to crack. 20 years over one mistake. That's when he finally turned to me. "That wasn't a mistake," he said quietly. "That was a personality trait." The words hit harder than any insult he could have thrown. "This isn't you," I whispered. "You don't just destroy everything because you're hurt." "No," he replied, zipping the first suitcase closed. "I destroy it because it's already contaminated." He picked up another bag. "Change into something decent. I'm calling you a ride to your mother's house." Humiliation burned in my chest. I wanted to scream, to beg, to slap him for looking at me like I was nothing. Instead, I stood frozen while he called a car like he was scheduling a business meeting. 5 minutes. That's all I had to say goodbye to the life I had built. The walls I had chosen. The bed I had slept in. The kitchen where I had laughed and cooked and planned holidays. Every familiar corner suddenly looked borrowed. When the notification came through, he pushed my phone into my hand. "Driver is outside." Outside. Like I was a stranger. Like I didn't belong there. He lifted my suitcases himself, not out of kindness, but finality. Opened the door. The cool night air rushed inside, carrying the smell of rain and asphalt. "Marcus, I tried one last time." He didn't answer. He just waited. So I stepped outside. And he shut the door behind me. No goodbye. No last touch. No final look. Just silence. The drive to my mother's house felt unreal. The city passing by in streaks of orange lights. The driver's eyes meeting mine in the mirror, curious, but too polite to ask questions. When I knocked on her door at 3 in the morning, she looked at me like I was a ghost. "Alara? What happened?" "I had a fight with Marcus," I said automatically. He overreacted. She didn't respond. She just stepped aside to let me in. The next morning, shame and disbelief tangled together in my stomach. But the worst part wasn't emotional. It was the waiting. 3 days passed. No texts. No calls. Nothing. On the 5th day, a man in a suit knocked on the door. He handed me a thick envelope. Divorce papers. Marcus wasn't angry. He was methodical. I hired a lawyer immediately. Expensive, confident, ruthless. She believed she could secure me half of everything. After all, I was his wife. I was entitled to what we'd built together. What I didn't realize was that Marcus had started planning long before I ever went to that club. He had documented changes in behavior, saved screenshots, backed up conversations, filed reports, moved funds, spoken to attorneys, prepared for war. By the time I even stepped into a courtroom, he had already won. They played recordings, showed texts, displayed messages where I mocked him and bragged. I was made to look unstable, reckless, dangerous. The judge's eyes never softened when he looked at me. The house went to him. The majority of savings gone. Even my car sold. When the ruling was finalized, something inside me shattered in a way I'm not sure will ever fully recover. People in the hallway whispered as I walked past. Pity. Judgment. Curiosity. A woman reduced to rubble. Weeks later, I sat alone in a small bar, holding a cheap glass between trembling fingers. Everything around me felt smaller now. The room, the world, myself. In a moment of weakness, I called him. He didn't answer the first time. Or the second. On the third ring, his voice finally came through, flat and exhausted. What do you want, Delara? My life is ruined, I whispered. Everything fell apart. I don't even recognize it anymore. You did that yourself, he replied. And I don't want to hear your voice again. The line went dead. And when I tried again, blocked. I tried from another number. Blocked. He didn't just remove me from his life. He erased me. That was the thought that followed me everywhere. In the creaking floorboards of the tiny apartment I now called home. In the half-empty refrigerator that hummed louder than the silence in my chest. In the quiet evenings when my phone remained stubbornly lifeless on the table. No notifications. No invitations. No concern. At first, Sienna tried to distract me. Come out with us, Delara. Don't disappear over a man, she said on the phone one night, her voice full of music and movement in the background. But when I asked if they could come to my place instead, there were excuses. Work. A headache. Another plan. Their world hadn't collapsed. Only mine had. I started to notice the way people looked at me differently. The receptionist at the photography studio avoided my eyes. Some old friends stopped replying to texts. Others suddenly became too busy to catch up. It didn't take much imagination to understand the story they'd heard. She cheated. She lost everything. She deserved it. I wanted to scream sometimes. To explain that it wasn't that simple. That I had felt buried alive. That I had been lonely even inside marriage. But the truth clung to me. Loneliness wasn't an excuse to burn a life down. One evening, as I sorted through boxes, I found an old photograph. Marcus and me. Younger. Happier. His arm resting around my waist. My head tilted against his shoulder. The version of me in the photo didn't look haunted. She didn't look greedy or desperate or empty. She looked safe. A word that once bored me. Now it felt priceless. I sat on the floor for hours, staring at that picture, the reality finally settling into my bones. He hadn't taken my life from me. I had handed it over, one selfish decision at a time. I remembered his eyes the night he held up my phone. Not anger, not rage, just disappointment. As if the woman he loved had died long before he ever read the messages. The strangest part was that my beauty, the thing I had traded everything for, meant nothing now. Compliments felt shallow. Attention tasted sour. Desire felt like currency that had already bankrupted me once. Late at night, when sleep refused to come, one question replayed again and again inside my skull. Was one night of feeling powerful worth the lifetime I destroyed? I didn't have an answer. Only an echo. So here I am now. Smaller apartment. Smaller life, smaller dreams. Standing at the edge of ruins I helped create. Sometimes, when the window is open, I can hear distant laughter from the street below. Music from a bar down the road. The kind of sounds that once made my pulse race. Now they make me close the curtains. Because I know the truth. Freedom without loyalty is just another kind of prison. And attention without love is the coldest thing in the world. I thought I was drowning in a small life. But when I finally broke free, I discovered just how deep the fall really was. And the worst part? Some nights, in the quiet, I still miss him. Not the security. Not the house. Not the money. I miss the man who loved a version of me that no longer exists. And I don't know if she ever will again.